Ladies and gentlemen, in Japanese anime, the greatest dreams are often born from the deepest pain. Vinland Saga is no exception. At its heart lies a simple but revolutionary idea: what if a warrior chose peace instead of violence? What if the strongest dream was not conquest, but a world without war? This is the meaning of Vinland, and this is the soul of Thorfinn's journey. Thorfinn's story begins in blood, loss, and confusion, a foundation that feels painfully familiar in Japanese anime where children are forced to grow up too fast. As a child, Thorfinn witnesses the death of his father, Thors, a man who had already rejected war and understood its emptiness. But Thorfinn is too young to grasp that lesson. Instead of inheriting his father's wisdom, he inherits the battlefield. From that moment onward, his life is shaped not by dreams, but by survival. Violence becomes normal, killing becomes routine, revenge becomes the only meaning he believes he has. In this way, Thorfinn represents a generation born into conflict, molded by it before they ever have the chance to choose who they want to be. In the early stages of Vinland Saga, Thorfinn is not a hero chasing justice or peace. He is a child soldier driven purely by rage. Every fight he enters, every life he takes, pushes him further away from his humanity. This is where the anime subverts expectations. Instead of glorifying his growth as a warrior, Vinland Saga shows how empty that growth truly is. Thorfinn becomes stronger, faster, and deadlier, but he becomes smaller as a person. His world narrows until there is room for only one thing: hatred. This emotional shrinking is critical to understanding why Vinland matters so deeply later on. Vinland represents the exact opposite of everything Thorfinn's life has been built upon. Before it becomes a dream, Thorfinn exists in a state of emotional imprisonment. He believes that violence is unavoidable, that killing is simply the way the world works. Like many characters in dark, mature anime, he accepts suffering as fate. The battlefield becomes his classroom, and death becomes his teacher. But unlike typical revenge-driven protagonists, Thorfinn never finds satisfaction in his violence. Each kill leaves him more hollow than before. This emptiness is intentional. Vinland Saga wants the audience to feel how meaningless endless fighting truly is. As Thorfinn grows older, the cracks in his worldview begin to show. When his revenge is stripped away, he is left with nothing. No goal, no identity, no future. This moment is crucial. In anime storytelling, the loss of purpose often leads to transformation, and Thorfinn's transformation does not come through gaining power, but through confronting the weight of his past. The blood on his hands does not disappear just because he stops fighting. Instead, it haunts him. Nightmares, guilt, and silence replace rage. This psychological collapse is where Vinland begins to take shape, not as a destination, but as a need. From blood to meaning, Thorfinn's journey is about redefining what it means to live. Vinland emerges as a counterbalance to the life he has known. It is born from exhaustion, from regret, from the realization that violence only creates more violence. In Japanese anime, redemption arcs often involve sacrifice or self-realization, and Thorfinn's redemption begins when he understands that strength does not lie in domination, but in restraint. This realization is painful. Letting go of violence means accepting responsibility for past actions. It means facing victims, not enemies. This is far more difficult than swinging a sword. Vinland becomes the answer to a question Thorfinn has never dared to ask before: is there a way to live without hurting others? This question alone separates him from the warriors around him. While others chase glory, land, or power, Thorfinn begins to chase peace. This shift feels radical in a world built on conquest. In anime terms, it is the moment when a character steps off the expected path and chooses something unfamiliar and frightening. Peace is not easy. It offers no adrenaline, no applause, no instant reward. But it offers meaning, something Thorfinn has never truly had. The brilliance of Vinland Saga is that it does not romanticize this transition. Thorfinn does not suddenly become enlightened. He stumbles. He doubts. He carries guilt like a shadow. His dream of Vinland is fragile because it is built on hope rather than certainty. Yet that fragility makes it powerful. In a world where strength is measured by violence, choosing peace is an act of rebellion. Vinland symbolizes that rebellion. It stands against everything Thorfinn was taught to believe. From blood to meaning, Thorfinn's evolution reflects one of the deepest themes in Japanese anime: the idea that true growth comes from confronting pain, not inflicting it. Vinland is not about erasing the past, but about refusing to let the past define the future. Thorfinn's dream is shaped by every life he took, every scream he ignored, and every night he spent lost in anger. That is why Vinland matters. It is not an escape from reality, but a response to it. Thorfinn's journey shows that meaning is not found through strength alone. It is found through choice. The choice to stop, the choice to change, the choice to believe that a world without war is worth fighting for, not with swords, but with resolve. Vinland is born from blood, but it exists to end it. And that transformation is what makes Thorfinn's dream one of the most powerful ideas in all of Japanese anime. Vinland is not imagined as a land of comfort, wealth, or fantasy, it is imagined as a world without war, and that alone makes it revolutionary within the brutal universe of Vinland Saga. In Japanese anime, dreams are often loud and dramatic, filled with ambition, power, or destiny. Thorfinn's dream is quiet, almost fragile, and that is exactly why it feels so radical. Vinland is not a place where Thorfinn becomes a king or a legend. It is a place where no one needs to be one. It exists as a rejection of the entire value system that has defined his life so far. What makes Vinland powerful is that it is born from trauma rather than hope. Thorfinn does not dream of peace because he is naive or idealistic. He dreams of it because he has seen the absolute worst of humanity. Every battlefield he survived, every life he ended, every scream he heard contributes to this vision. Vinland is not an escape from responsibility, it is a response to unbearable reality. In anime storytelling, this type of dream carries emotional weight because it is earned through suffering, not fantasy. Vinland also represents a moral awakening. Thorfinn begins to understand that violence is not a natural law but a cycle maintained by fear, pride, and revenge. His dream challenges the idea that war is inevitable. In a world where warriors are celebrated and conquest is glorified, imagining a place without killing feels almost impossible. That impossibility is what makes Vinland feel sacred. It is not just land, it is a belief that humanity can choose a different path. Unlike typical anime utopias, Vinland is not perfect. Thorfinn knows it will be difficult. People will still argue, struggle, and suffer. But the absence of war changes everything. Without swords ruling human interaction, people are forced to communicate, cooperate, and confront their differences without bloodshed. This vision is deeply philosophical and aligns with Vinland Saga's mature tone. Peace is not presented as easy, it is presented as necessary. Vinland also redefines strength. In the Viking world, strength is measured by how many enemies you can defeat. In Vinland, strength is measured by how many conflicts you can prevent. This shift is central to Thorfinn's redemption. He understands that his past strength only created more graves. His future strength must create life. In Japanese anime, such a shift is rare and powerful because it rejects spectacle in favor of meaning. The dream of Vinland is fragile because it depends on people choosing restraint over instinct. Thorfinn knows how easily anger can take control, he lived that truth. This awareness makes his dream grounded rather than idealistic. Vinland is not built on blind optimism but on painful self-knowledge. Thorfinn believes peace is possible not because humans are good, but because humans are capable of learning from suffering. Ultimately, Vinland is Thorfinn's answer to the question of how to live after violence. It is his attempt to transform guilt into responsibility and pain into purpose. In the language of Japanese anime, Vinland is not a destination, it is a promise. A promise that the future does not have to repeat the past, and that even those shaped by war can choose to build something gentler. Vinland also stands as a direct challenge to the world that raised Thorfinn, a world where violence is treated as both tradition and necessity. In Vinland Saga, war is not just an event, it is a culture passed down from generation to generation. Children are raised on stories of glory, warriors are honored through bloodshed, and death is normalized as the price of strength. Vinland confronts this inherited mindset head-on. It asks a dangerous question that few characters in the series dare to consider: what if the world is not supposed to be this way? In Japanese anime, challenging the foundation of an entire society is often the role of a chosen hero or revolutionary leader. Thorfinn is neither. He has no army, no political power, and no divine destiny. His rebellion is internal before it is external. By rejecting violence, he rejects the values that once defined his worth. This makes Vinland a deeply personal act of defiance. It is not a declaration of war, it is a refusal to participate in one. Vinland's importance lies in how it reframes conflict. Instead of asking who deserves to win, it asks why anyone must lose their life at all. This shift in perspective feels almost alien in a world dominated by swords and conquest. Thorfinn understands that every battle creates the next one. Every act of revenge plants the seed for another tragedy. Vinland represents a conscious break in this chain. It is an attempt to end the story of violence by refusing to continue it. The dream also forces Thorfinn to confront his own guilt. He cannot erase the lives he took or the pain he caused. Vinland does not absolve him of that past. Instead, it demands accountability. His dream is not to forget his sins, but to ensure they are not repeated. In anime storytelling, redemption often comes through sacrifice or heroic death. Vinland Saga takes a different approach. Redemption comes through living responsibly, through choosing peace again and again even when violence would be easier. Vinland also exposes how deeply fear controls human behavior. Nations go to war because they fear invasion. Warriors fight because they fear weakness. Leaders rule through force because they fear losing power. Thorfinn's dream rejects fear as a guiding principle. Vinland is built on trust, a risky, fragile, and dangerous foundation. Trust can be betrayed, peace can fail, but Thorfinn believes that living in constant fear is already a form of defeat. This belief separates him from every warrior before him. From an anime perspective, Vinland is radical because it lacks spectacle. There are no epic battles to celebrate, no enemies to defeat. Its power lies in quiet resolve. Thorfinn's willingness to be vulnerable, to admit that violence has broken him, becomes an act of courage greater than any duel. Vinland Saga uses this contrast to redefine heroism. The true warrior is not the one who wins every fight, but the one who prevents them. Vinland is also fragile because it depends on collective choice. One man cannot create peace alone. Thorfinn understands this and still chooses to try. That choice is what gives Vinland meaning. It is not guaranteed to succeed. It may collapse, but the act of believing in it transforms Thorfinn's life. In anime language, this is a dream worth fighting for, not with fists, but with restraint, patience, and empathy. Ultimately, Vinland is a challenge to the audience as much as it is to the characters. It asks whether we believe violence is inevitable or if we are willing to imagine something better. Through Thorfinn's dream, Vinland Saga delivers its most powerful message. The bravest act in a violent world is not to conquer it, but to change how we live within it. Vinland is not just a destination on a map, it is a future that has never existed before, and that is what makes it both powerful and terrifying. For Thorfinn, the idea of Vinland represents hope without guarantees. Unlike kingdoms built on conquest, Vinland offers no promise of glory, wealth, or dominance. It offers only the chance to start over. In a world shaped by endless war, starting over is the most dangerous dream of all. What makes this dream especially compelling in Japanese anime storytelling is its emotional honesty. Thorfinn does not believe that Vinland will magically erase human conflict. He knows people will argue, make mistakes, and even hurt each other. But the difference is intention. Vinland is built on the refusal to solve problems through killing. That single principle separates it from every nation Thorfinn has ever known. It is not a perfect world, it is a conscious one. Thorfinn's journey toward this dream is marked by doubt and resistance, both from others and from himself. Many characters see Vinland as childish fantasy. Warriors laugh at the idea of peace. Leaders dismiss it as weakness. Even Thorfinn struggles to believe he deserves such a future after everything he has done. This internal conflict gives the dream weight. Vinland is not hope born from innocence, it is hope born from suffering. That makes it mature, grounded, and deeply human. In anime, dreams often fuel explosive action. Characters chase goals through power-ups, battles, and dramatic victories. Vinland Saga flips this formula. Thorfinn's dream demands restraint instead of strength. Each time he chooses not to fight, he moves closer to Vinland. Each time he refuses revenge, he strengthens his resolve. This slow, painful progression highlights a rare truth in anime narratives. Growth does not always look impressive, but it is always meaningful. Vinland also forces Thorfinn to redefine leadership. He is no longer leading through fear or strength, but through example. He cannot command others to abandon violence, he can only show them it is possible. This kind of leadership is fragile. It can fail the moment someone chooses violence again. Yet that fragility is what makes it real. Vinland's survival depends on constant effort, not a single heroic act. Another powerful aspect of Vinland is how it honors life without glorifying it. Thorfinn does not preach peace as moral superiority. He presents it as necessity. After seeing endless death, he understands that survival without purpose is hollow. Vinland gives meaning to survival by turning it into responsibility. Living becomes an act of atonement, not escape. This idea resonates strongly in anime themes about legacy and the burden of past actions. Vinland's emotional impact comes from its uncertainty. There is no guarantee that it will succeed. But Thorfinn moves forward anyway. This reflects a core truth of the human experience: meaningful change always begins without certainty. Vinland Saga uses this uncertainty to deliver its most realistic message. Peace is not achieved through a final victory, it is maintained through daily choices. Vinland represents the courage to imagine a future beyond what history has taught. It is the refusal to accept violence as destiny. Through Thorfinn's dream, Vinland Saga tells a story not about escaping war, but about ending it within oneself first. That is why Vinland matters, not because it is perfect, but because it dares to exist at all. Vinland Saga ultimately reminds us that the greatest battles are not fought with swords, but within the human heart. Through Thorfinn's journey, from a child shaped by war to a man who dares to reject it, the story transforms the meaning of strength, honor, and victory. Vinland is not portrayed as a flawless paradise, but as a fragile hope built on responsibility, restraint, and the courage to change. In a world where violence is inherited like a tradition, choosing peace becomes the most rebellious act of all. Thorfinn's dream teaches us that freedom is not found in domination or revenge, but in breaking the cycle that binds generation after generation to bloodshed. His path shows that even those born in war can choose a different future, and that true warriors are not those who destroy the most lives, but those who protect life when it would be easier to take it. And in the end, Vinland is not just a land across the sea, it is the moment a warrior lays down his blade and chooses to become human again.